and it's a bit disheartening that he failed. But Shmuel has told him that he's now lost the Melucha.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I actually heard this from Rabbi Lichtman, who you've never heard of, but he used to give this Navi Shiur in Aish, and he's actually an expert. When he left me the job, I said to him, Rabbi Lichtman, how do you expect me to give a Navi class in place? He says, you'll see, you'll learn on the job. You don't know very much about it, but you'll learn it, and over the years you'll learn some. Anyway, he eventually, my daughter married his son about 2 years ago, with Rabbi Lichtman, and he once told me that he believed that although Shaul was told that he had lost the ability to permanently be king, it was only more of a threat. It wasn't actually like written in blood, as they would say. Right? He could still do tshuva. And so we have to see, right? But this is what Shmuel has told him. Because he didn't wait, he gave it under the pressure. The pressure was very strong, the pressure, right? His army has disintegrated. He's faced by hundreds of thousands of Philistines in the hills, ready to decimate, and annihilate them altogether. And the consequences of losing this battle were horrific. And all he wanted to do was, and he waited a week. He just wanted to bring the sacrifices going out to battle, but Shmuel says, that's not what I told you to do. I told you to wait for me, so I would bring the sacrifices. So you messed up. But what I find amazing is it doesn't stop Shaul going out to fight. He doesn't say, look, okay, fine, no, fine. Oh, so you do it. You're the Navi, you go out and fight. Well, why should I go out and risk my life and fight when you just told me I lost my job? Do you imagine like you're working for
his job?
Well, yes, you no longer. I didn't. He said it. Yeah, okay, fine, but it wasn't. Well, actually, you look at there's two stages. You look at Pasuk Yud Gimel. I had said Ki Ata now Heichin Hashem es Mamlaktecha El Yisrael Adonai. I had said it would be forever, and now it's not going to be forever. But now he says Ata Mamlaktecha Lo Tokum. That could even mean not only won't it go on forever, even your own melucha won't last. He didn't say Mamlaktecha Lo Tokum La'olam. That was already being told in the previous pasuk.
Okay.
Anyway, so what does he do? But he gets up. Vayakam Shmuel. Okay, Shmuel got up. Vayal, and he went up. Means you climb the mountains. Because Gilgal, where's Gilgal? Gilgal's in the Dead Sea, right? Which is the lowest place on earth, right? So he climbed up from Gilgal, Mina Gilgal, to Givas Binyamin. I suppose it means to Geva, which is in Binyamin. Giva just means a hill, but there's a town called Geva in Binyamin. It's a very famous story, happened in Shoftim in that town, a very sad story. And that's probably where Shaul lived, because it's called Givas Shaul. So I don't know for sure it's the same place, but that's where they went up. So Shmuel went up, like Yifgod Shaul es ha'am. Shaul counted the people. Pakad is to count. There's other words to count. Lispor, limnot. But Yifgod, it means more than just to count, it means like to give them positions. Hanimsaim, those who were found. You with me, Dylan?
No.
The line starts with a pay in the brackets.
Which was
halfway. Which was Yifgod means to count. By Yifkod, the third to last word.
Oh.
Right? Shaul counted them, the people, Hanimtzaim, who were found, means the guys who were still there, Imo with him, and how many were there? Kishesh Meyois Ish. Approximately 600 men. That's all he's got.
What?
That's all he's got. 600. Now, our guess is the army originally had 330,000, because that's what they had the last time they were fighting.
Yeah.
When they fought against Ammon. And Shaul has made a national call up, and they all came, presumably, right? But now we mentioned beforehand that they've slowly gone away. We didn't know to what extent, and now you understand why Shaul was so scared to not. We're going to do something, or there's really going to be nobody left, and there's always nobody. I mean, 600 against even the number of chariots outnumbers them by about 100 to 1.
Yeah.
There's how many chariots were there?
6,000.
6,000. Right, so that's 1 to 10 chariots.
Wait, no.
No, there's 30,000.
30,000.
Yeah,
30,000,
that was
right?
the artillery.
So what's that?
50.
1 to
50.
1 to 50.
Wow.
right? And the cavalry is 1 to 10. And that's forgetting the number of soldiers is probably 1 to 1,000. Right? There's probably 600,000 soldiers there. They don't stand a chance. They stand zero chance, right?
Where did the rest of them go?
They fled, hid in the caves, hid in the bushes, hid in the stones, went over the other side of the Jordan. They're all gone. The whole army is disintegrated. And we're going to do something. But you're crazy to fight, no? I mean, you don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Like what do they say? A snowball's chance in hell, something like that. Like a snowball in hell, that's the chance you have to survive. You've nothing. You don't. We can just walk over you, and you won't even notice that you're here.
How would you compare it to like some of the wars of like modern Israel?
I mean, you couldn't. The only one that comes to mind is a famous story in the Golan Heights, in the Yom Kippur War, where a guy called Avigdor Kahalani, who was commander of 4 or 5 tanks, was facing 200 Syrian tanks. The rest of the group had been wiped out, destroyed. There's only 4 tanks left, and it was crazy. Right? There's no point. Let's just run. Mm-hmm. And there's no point if we run, because if we run, the Syrians are going to take over the Golan. Once they've taken over the Golan, then they can attack Tveria, and they just take over the north of Israel. So Avigdor Kahalani said over a message to his others, says, "I'm going in. Whoever wants to come after me, should come after me." And that's what they did. And the 200 tanks suddenly stopped in their tracks, and the soldiers got out and ran away.
Yeah,
that's a real story.
Syrian soldiers. What?
Yeah. This was in the middle of the night, actually, and the Israelis did not have night vision. The Syrians did have night vision. The way they knew what they were up against is because a Syrian tank got lost and came within view of the Israeli tank so close that they could actually read its number plate. Apparently tanks have a number plate. I didn't know that. And they could see there was a Syrian number plate. And then he gave instructions to his guy to put the thing in and blow it up. And that's how close the Syrians were. And then they just ran out. So I heard this story when I was in a place called Nachal Oz, which was a kibbutz Oz, up there in the Golan. And I asked the guy who was telling the story, says, "Do you think that was a miracle?" I want to wind the guy up. So he says, "Well, some people think so."
No religious guy.
Not a religious guy. Which means the answer is yes, but my religious practices don't allow me to admit. What do I say? Yes, and then say I don't believe in God? Well, it doesn't fit with my lifestyle. So that's the only thing that comes to mind. But even
that's way less. This
I think the Kahalani was a Yemenite captain of his tank. He eventually became a member of Knesset.
So how did they see how did they know what they were facing if they didn't have night vision?
Oh, because in the morning they saw there's 200 tanks there, abandoned by Syrians. They just got and ran.
Oh.
Now why did they do that?
No, but originally when they
there was no fight.
Why?
Right? They killed one of the tanks.
Yeah, one tank. Yeah. They just stopped. Why did they get? Well, I don't know. Maybe they saw angels and they saw. I don't know what they got scared. I have no idea. I mean, you have to interview the Syrians and ask them why did they run away?
Yeah, why would they not drive away at least?
Well, if you saw the angel Gabriel coming towards you, you would run as quick as you can. There's no time to turn your tank round because he's about to get you. I have no idea.
They got
no idea what they saw.
Because of the one thing they got.
No, I first it was like October 7th. I heard a story the security footage. One of the kibbutzim showed the Hamas they walk up to the gate and then turn tail and run.
Right. No, it's
After they captured some of them, they were like, "There's massive men guarding the kibbutz." Like on the camera, you don't see anybody there.
They were on drugs though.
Okay. Anyway, we didn't see what happened. How do you know they won? Maybe they lost. How do you know Shaul won? All we know is what Shaul's facing. Okay? But look, if the Navi tells you to go and fight, you go and fight. He doesn't ask any questions. Right? And the truth there was no choice. Because the choice meant being taken over by the Philistines. I presume that the consequences of that would have been worse for him and his army.
How did they get into
I mean, he could have fled also.
Could have.
Could have fled as well. Theoretically.
Yeah. I suppose they although I don't actually see the Navi specifically telling them they have to go and fight. I don't see those command of the Shmuel says you have to go and fight or you should go and fight.
After they count 600, you're saying?
The truth is, let's see the story. Let's see how it plays out. How Shaul actually does the fight. The Shaul, the Yonasan ben Noi. Now we know that he's his son. This is the first time we're told that Yonasan is the son of Shaul. Shaul and Yonasan his son. V'ha'am, and the people, Hanipta Imam, who were with them, who were found with them. Found in the sense like it's almost everybody else got lost. These are the guys who found. Where are they? Yoshvim, they are sitting. Begeva Binyamin. Now it's called Geva Binyamin. Presumably it's the same place. Geva, which is the name of the town in Binyamin. Ufilishtim, and the Philistines, Chanu, they have camped. B'michmas in Michmas, which are very close. Geva and the Michmas are places not very far from each other.
Right.
I don't know why it doesn't say. It looks like the Jews are so few they're not even called. It's not even called a camp.
What?
The Philistines are called camped. The Jews are sitting there. They're sitting ducks. Yes?
Kanu's camp.
Kanu means to camp. Like it's an army camp. There's a whole big camp. There's hundreds of thousands of soldiers. The Jews is a tiny little thing there of 600 soldiers waiting to be massacred.
Right. How did they get into a situation where the Philistines were like where they started running away? I can't remember. Why did they?
Who's running away?
Meaning
No one's running away yet.
No, but the
Jews.
The Jews.
Because the Jews saw this scary army.
Close.
Well, how many was their army in total?
We've no idea. It doesn't say. It says as many as the sand by the seashore.
That's it.
That's my point. It looks like it was
A lot.
well armed. Well, first of all, it was well armed, as we can see very soon. The Jews were not well armed. Very soon we'll see. They were well trained. They had a massive army, and this was the Jews had a lot of people, but it's Dad's army. That's pretty what it was. You know Dad's army? Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? You think we're on the right. You never watched that? Oh, was it? It was a thing they used to have every week. It was like these 60-year-olds were in the home front, and they were like guarding England from Germans invading. Called Dad's army. Okay, let's see. The Shaul and his son Yonasan, they are together with the people sitting in Geva, and the Philistines have camped in Michmas. Like say Hamashchis. Now he starts the war. So it seems they're not actually fighting yet. The Hamashchis means a destroyer.
Yeah.
Like when the Jews are in Egypt and God kills the Egyptians, right? It says, don't go out of your houses because the Mashchis may get you. So the Mashchis is a destroyer. There it's a destroying angel. Here it's just some group of Philistines who are very scary, ferocious, destroying soldiers. Okay? The guys in the front who were very, very scary. So the Mashchis went out. Means they're starting to move from their Philistine encampment. Mimachane Philistine, from the camp of the Philistines. Shloisha Roshim, in 3 heads, meaning 3 groups, each in a slightly different direction, probably in order to surround the Jews. Harosh Echad, the one head, Yifneh, that's in future, I don't know why I said it. It means will turn. It means they haven't turned yet, but they've left the camp with the purpose of going El Derech Ofra, to the road to Ofra. It means just like you have a Jaffa Road, right? It means the road that leads to Jaffa, right? Or Hebron Road, or all these things, right? Damascus Gates. It's not near Damascus, but the road there goes all the way to Damascus.
It does?
Yeah, that's why it's called. Yeah, that's why it's called Damascus Gate. You keep going down that road, eventually you get to Damascus. Interesting. Okay. Or Shar Shechem. Why is it called Shar Shechem? Because the road that way goes to Shechem. That's where the names come from. Okay. So the same thing over here. This is the road that goes to Ofra. That's the first group, whatever that is. El Eret Shual, to the land of Shual. Shual means a fox. I don't know what it has to do with it, anything. But that's the name of the place where the first group of the Philistines were heading towards. V'harosh Echad, and another one head. Yifneh, that's directions. Derech Beit Choron is on the way to Beit Choron. Beit Choron is a place between Ramat and Modi'in. There you go to a place you go there today. It's called Beit Choron. V'harosh, what?
Same place.
I guess so. By Israeli law, you're only allowed to give biblical names to a place that's in the real place. You're not allowed to give a biblical name to a town that's not in the right place. For example,
What if we don't know?
Kiryat Sefer. You heard of Kiryat Sefer?
Seven?
Kiryat Sefer is the name of a Orthodox Haredi town, but it's not its official name.
Lama?
Because there was a place in the Tanach called Kiryat Sefer. It wasn't there. It was somewhere else. So its official name is Modi'in Ilit, which means Upper Modi'in. It's like a suburb of Modi'in, but it's nowhere near Modi'in, and you'd never get the two places confused. Yes, it's somewhere nearby. It's about 10 kilometers away.
This was not a big country. It's like,
Yes, but that's its official name. But most people know it as Kiryat Sefer because that's what we want to call it. So it's not illegal to call it that. You can do what you want to. We can do it in this room and give whatever name we want to. But its official name is not Kiryat Sefer. Whereas Beitar is more or less in the place where the Beitar that was destroyed where Bar Kochba's headquarters was. So that's okay. Okay. So this place called Beit Horon is still there. The Harosh Echad and the third group of Philistines, Yifneh, they were intending to go Derech HaGavul, in the road that goes to the border, Hanishkaf, that looks out upon Mishkafayim. What are Mishkafayim? Glasses, right. So Lahashkif means to look at something. So this is like a lookout. It means if you go in that direction, you can look out Al Gei Hatzevaim. Gei means a valley, as in Gei Hinnom, the Hinnom Valley. Right? Gei doesn't mean hell. No, it means the Hinnom Valley. Gei is a valley. Hatzevoim of the, if I'm not mistaken, Tzavua is a hyena. Hyena.
Valley of the
The valley of the hyenas. Obviously, there were hyenas in this valley, and it got its name from. So, if you go in that direction from Geva, from Michmas, towards the border, presumably means towards the Jordan border, you'll then go to a lookout that looks over the valley, Hamidbara, towards the desert. So, if you can imagine yourself, anyone who's been to Mitzpah Yericho, we've been there, beautiful view there of desert, if you like desert views, right? You see the whole Judean desert, and you see Jericho in the bottom, but you're still in the hills. So there, one group is going that way, which is east, one's going to Beit Horon, which is west, and the other one's going towards Afra, which is probably south, and I suppose they're intending to come around, encircle the Jews and massacre them, I guess.
But if there's only 600 of them, what's the point of this
big
elaborate operation?
Yeah, but we don't know how many there are in this elaborate operation. We don't know how many in each group. It's not like it's 200,000 in each one. No, there's probably 1,000 in each.
Also, we don't know how the Plishtim don't necessarily know that there's.
Yeah, the Plishtim don't know how many are missing.
Right.
Okay. Now we have something which is really the author is writing in parentheses in order to explain the story, which is as follows: the Charash. Now Charash is a blacksmith, I think. I think the reason why I'm not sure, because in the Mishkan, you learn about the Mishkan this week and next week. One of the trades, that's not a word, one of the artisans who build the Mishkan, one is Charash.
There was metalwork done?
Yes, definitely.
Gold,
silver, a lot of metalwork. But I don't know what, I thought that there was actually a guy who works in wood. But it's clear, I think, from this story that it means someone who works in metal. So that's why I think it means a blacksmith. Lo yimatzei, could not be found, b'chol Eretz Yisrael, in the whole of the land of Israel. There were no blacksmiths. Why? Doesn't every country need blacksmiths? Who's going to put shoes on your horses, and who's going to make you metalwork? And who's going to do everything? I can have a country without blacksmiths who do metalwork.
In your
right?
weapons.
Oh. Ki Amru, you know why? Because the Philistines said, means the Philistines had made it against the law.
Why?
Pen, lest, Ya'asu ha'ivrim, maybe the Hebrews will make cherev, sword, or chanit, or a javelin, spear. So, firstly, pen means lest. It means the Philistines made this this trade illegal because they didn't want Jews to make weapons.
They didn't. You said they were politically injured.
Well, yes, I got it from here. I got it from this passage. The question is, who cares what the Philistines have to say? Right? Don't we have our own? No. Apparently, the Philistines have enough say in the matter to be able to make such a law,
so
and the Jews have to listen.
Previously,
Is that sword issue?
Javelin.
That one.
Ivrim.
Yeah. The question is, how does this fit in historically? I don't mean from extra historical, from this story, at what point did the Philistines such a tremendous control? And that's why I compared this like to after the First World War, where the Allies forbade the Germans from making weapons. And they could do that because we won the war, and they will tell you what to do. And hey, you'll do things clandestinely, that's right, secretly, we won't know, but officially you're not allowed to. We'll see. They also managed to do some on the black market, but those were the rules, right? So at what point, like, we learned at the beginning of Shmuel that we had such power over the Philistines that we took back from the Philistines the cities that they'd taken from us, and during the time of Shmuel. And we only heard of what after Shmuel's death. After Shmuel's resignation, and now Shaul takes over. We've only heard of one insurgents, if that's the right word, from Nachash, the king of Ammon, and there was a war, right? And they fought against Ammon. Now we don't talk about the weapons, yeah. But you assumed, and I assumed, when you fight a war, you have to have weapons, otherwise you're not going to stand much chance.
Yeah, you're just gonna go
right?
punch each other in the desert.
Well, that's what we assumed, right?
Yeah.
Because we're used to modern warfare where you're fighting with weapons, right? But in Lam Natseach it says, Eila barechef, ve'eila basusim, anachnu b'shem Hashem naskir. These guys fight with chariots, these guys with horses. How do we fight? With the name of Hashem. So maybe you don't need, maybe Jews didn't fight with weapons. No, so you find it hard to believe, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're going out like in the
Because
like Hashem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can fight with your hands. It's called martial arts, right? You just.
Not everybody's
it's not gonna
stuff there.
go.
But you need
You ever seen King Fu? What's he say? Kung Fu. What's his name? No. Bruce Lee. Right.
Oh yeah.
Right, and you just need to take down one guy, and then
Yeah,
you've
but
got
the guy he's
weapons.
fighting doesn't have swords.
Well, you've got one. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. But the point is, I don't know. If you look in the story of Gidon, we didn't skip that and Shoftim. The whole story has 300 people, where they have a shofar in one hand, they have a lamp in the other hand,
Oh my God.
and they go out to battle. Now I always question, where did they carry their weapons? They didn't have enough hands left. They didn't. They just shouted out like Shem, and all the Midianites ran away. That's the story. They all ran away. Then they chased after them, and then they picked up the weapons on the way, and then they. So that's the way Jews fought. That's Shmuel's whole criticism. You want to live normal, normal like other countries do, with a king, with an army, trained, weapons. Like that's the way Goyim live. Jews don't fight like that. You fight with the name of Hashem.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they just drop dead. Sometimes they run away, right? We've had that Shmuel as well. There's this big noise from heaven, and all the Philistines run away. And then the Jews chased after them. Well, if you're chasing after somebody else, you don't need weapons, because he's the one running away, and then you'll get him, right? So there's no proof, even though you assume like that, and I assume, I thought it was a good question, there's no proof that they actually had weapons when they went to fight against Nachash. But still, we don't find anywhere the Philistines took over. We weren't told that. But now it says that there's no blacksmiths, right? So at some point we weren't told about the Philistines have taken over to the extent that the blacksmithery is illegal in order to prevent the Jews from having weapons. So then let's continue. So how did our country can't function without blacksmiths. Okay, we won't make weapons, but we need to be able to sharpen our knives. So how are you going to cut your chalas for Shabbos? No. How are you going to do anything? How are you going to plow your fields if you don't have a thing to plow? I mean, that's part of the industry. So you can also use the same industry for making weapons, right? Today would be a different industry because you'd have to have dynamite and all those explosives,
machinery.
right? But in those days, which was much more primitive, it's basically the same industry. You make knives, you make plows, you make spurs for the shoes for your horses, right? You can make weapons in the same place. What did they do? So they had rules. Vayerdu Chol Yisrael, all Israel would go down. Haplishtim to the Philistines. If you wanted to sharpen your knife, you had to go to Ashdod. That was where it was illegal. Just over here, you got put in prison if you shot on sight, if you have a blacksmith. Vayedu Kol Pelishtim Lil Toish, I think means to sharpen. Yeah, what was it? Ish es macharashtoi, each man his plow. Macharesh, something with charash, choresh is the plow. Different to the word charash over here, which means blacksmith. Okay, your plow. There's eito. This is another word. Well, this is It also, what is it? I think it's a hoe. If I'm not mistaken, a hoe. You know what a hoe is? Like for weeding,
Yeah.
right? Right? The es kardumai and his axe. Es macharei shosoi. Now that to me sounds like the same thing as a plow.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they said it twice. Macharashtoi and macharei shosoi. Don't know the difference. No idea. Kardumai and macharei shosoi.
But surely an axe is also a weapon. Why is
Yes. Well, yes, correct. So, yes, it's a bit primitive, right? It's not as good as a spear or a sword. But yes, so you could go out to war with your axe. Correct.
So-
You could go out to war maybe with a little plow as well.
And
Or a knife, yes. So it could be they did have primitive weapons. You know, they're going out with their pitchforks, right? But you could fight like that too. But they didn't have swords. They didn't. So when you were fighting against Nachash, they could have used their primitive weapons.
What about slingshots?
Slingshot, they could have that as well. Yes, so you can't. There's no way you can stop people manufacturing slings, right? And stones you just pick up on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Benjaminites actually were very good slingshots. We learned that in the Book of
David
Shmuel,
Goliath.
and they were very good experts. The more even says how you can hit a hair from the distance. They were very good. Okay. But I saw. So what did you do? Now there was another way, an alternative way to sharpen. You didn't have to go all the way down to the Philistines to sharpen a knife, but it wouldn't help you for making swords. You didn't have to have a blacksmith. There's other things. You could use what's called a file. You know, like these guys get out of prison. Yeah, they smuggle it in a cake and they cut through the bars. That's all the cartoons are, right? Okay, so that's what this was. The Hoysa had Pitzira Pim. Exactly what this is, we don't know, but it's some type of thing that you could do to what's the word?
Sharpen.
To sharpen things instead of having an official way, right? Pim sounds like from P, which means a mouth, because it probably got lots of points or something like that. You could use this la machareishos for the plows, v'la etim and for the hoes, the lishlosh kilshon. That sounds like a three-pitched fork, because shalosh is with three, so you had a pitchfork. You want to sharpen that as well. V'la hakardumim and for the axes, ulahatziv hadarbon. Now a darbon is called a goad, G-O-A-D. What's it for? It's a bit like a spur. A spur, you know what spurs are for horses?
Yeah.
So it's like a thing with points. So if you're ploughing and you want to spur on the cow, you can't use a spur because you've got a horse you're riding. What you would have, you have a long stick, and the end of this would have something similar to that. So that's called a darban. Darban it's a goad because it goads the horses or the things to go in a certain direction. So all these things need. I know lahatziv means to stand upright. All these things are used for sharpening. Okay, so it was illegal to have a blacksmith. If you wanted to make anything, you had to go down to the Philistines or sharpen it. The only way you could improvise, right, was to use this other thing which would help you to sharpen, but wouldn't help. You couldn't make a sword that way.
Yeah.
So the higher, and it was beyond milchemes, on the day of the war. But there's really a word missed out. I should say beyond milchama. Milchemes means the war of. The war of what? Doesn't say. It means the war against the Philistines that were about to have. I don't know where that word went to.
Yeah.
V'lo nimtza cherev. There was no sword. They didn't find any swords. V'chanis, or a spear. V'yad kol ha'am. Means they had weapons. Yes, they may have had axes and they may have had other things, but there's no real stuff, right? No spears, no swords. Asher es Shaul, with those who were with Shaul. Maybe some of the other soldiers ran away and taken their weapons with them, I don't know. But there's 600 guys who were with Shaul. No one had a sword, no one had a spear. Who were with Shaul and Yonasan, except Vatimot say that they were found with Shaul, Ulu Yonasan Benoi. Those are the only two. Shaul had a sword. Maybe one had a sword, one had a spear. Maybe they had two swords, two spears. I don't know. Those are the only ones who had proper weapons. Shaul and Yonasan. So that's another point in the impossible nature of winning this battle. A, they're outnumbered by 1,000 to 1, right? Approximately. Besides the fact that they have no chariots, cavalry, they have very, very primitive weapons. The only two who have any decent weapons are Shaul and Yonasan of this group, and the Philistines are on the way to get them. It was on that day. That day means the day that this great battle is going to take place. The day that you're going to find about the rest of the chapter. On that day. Yonasan ben Shaul, Yonasan the son of Shaul, said, El Hana'ar, to the lad. Which lad? Noseh Kelav, his armor bearer. So Yonatan doesn't have that much armor, but he's got an armor bearer because he's the prince, right? He's the son of the king. So it's someone who carries his big shield. Often the armor bearer would have a big shield, was like sort of surround you almost. Someone would carry that. What?
Did we skip Chalkim?
Yeah.
Sorry. Vayetze Matzav Pelishtim, and the century of the Philistines, Matzav, century, the group of soldiers, moved out from its camp in Michmas, El Ma'avar Michmas, to the pass of Michmas. So there's a pass where he goes through between two hills, I suppose, and it's called the pass, the Michmas Pass. That's where they moved. So we had these three groups of soldiers who were surrounding, possibly, and the whole army starts to move forward. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's the end of the description from the Philistine camp. Now let's get to the Jewish camp, where Yonatan says to his lad, Nosei Kelav. Nosei means to lift up. Kelav, his utensils. It doesn't mean this guy carried his Nagelwasser bowl. No, it means he carried his weapons.
He only had one.
Yeah, so it's like you go play golf, right? You have the guy who caddy, right? He carries your sticks, and whichever one you need, he gives you, right? So if I need my sword, you give me my sword. If I need my spear, give me my spear. But we don't have more than that, right? Or maybe I also have an axe and a pitchfork, right? I don't know. But he's carrying Yonasan's weapons. Lecha.
He's carrying Yonasan's weapons, or
Yes.
Shaul's?
No, Yonasan's. Yonatan, the son of Shaul, said to the lad who was his armor bearer, Lecha, let's go. Lecha, lech means go. Lecha, v'ne'abra means let us go and cross. Ne'abra from the word la'avor. Let's go and cross. They were in the Jewish camp with his father. Let's go across El Matzav Plishtim to the standing army of the Philistines.
Matzav like
What?
Matziv.
No, Matzav is like Nitzav, means to stand, right? So it's the whole the arrangement of these 600,000 soldiers, right?
I thought like a Matziv, like a situation.
No, it doesn't mean
Like-
no, Matzav, no. Here it means from the word and Nitziv, which describes either a person who's a governor, or it means a Nitziv, like what's his name? Lot's wife became a standing soldier. So it's describing soldiers who are standing in array upright. El me'ever haloz. Ever means the other side. Like Avram is called Avram ha'ivri because he's from the other side. Me'ever haloz. Now haloz means yonder. You know what yonder means?
Over there.
Over there, right. So let's go to the Philistine camp, to the other side over there. Well, I don't know. What if they're going round? They can go straight across, right? I mean, they see the Philistines are starting to move, come towards them. Let's go over there. Well, I don't. Yeah. Okay. Well, Aviv lo higid. He didn't tell his father.
What?
He didn't tell his father he was on a secret mission with his armor bearer. We're going off to start with the Philistines. Yonatan says, let's start off with them. Yeah, it's true there's 600,000 of them, but so what? What's the big deal? You and me can do it. We can take them on. You and me. It's interesting that the guy doesn't react. He doesn't say, you crazy, you're mad. He doesn't say, yeah, he doesn't say anything. In the meantime, the Shaul, what's Shaul doing in the meantime? Yoshev, he's sitting, B'ktsei Hagiva, at the edge or the end of the hill, Tachas HaRimoin, underneath a pomegranate tree. I mean, it's a fascinating detail. I don't know why that's relevant to the story. Obviously, there's something in there, but I don't know what it is. Asher b'Migron, looks like the name of a place. So he's in Migron, under a pomegranate tree, at the end of the hill, edge of the hill. V'ha'am, Asher Imon, the people who are with him, Kishesh, Meis, Ish, are approximately 600. Well, there's two missing now.
590.
Yeah, but they were never exactly 600, so it's still approximately 600. I suppose you're trying to say that these 600 faithful ones are staying with him. They're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Achia ben Achitov, Achi Ikavod ben Pinchas ben Eli. Okay, so that's the name of a person. It tells you his whole ichus, his whole genealogy. Who was he? His name was Achia. Achia. He was the son of Achitov. Who's Achitov? Achi, the brother of Ikavod. Who's Ikabod? Who remembers who's Ikabod? Ikabod. It's a Goyish name. I mean, it's actually a Jewish name, but Goyim, those who are some connection with devout Christians or may give this name, called Ikabod. Ikabod, ever heard of it? You got no friends called Ikabod?
Oh. Only Christian.
You never heard of it? Got no Goyish friend? No, but if you will hear these guys like Amish, the guys who were
the from
Oh,
really from
those
one.
funny people.
Yeah. So those like what?
Yeah.
You've heard of Ikabod?
Well, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a name. It's a name. In old films, they have this sort of name, right? So it comes from this word, which in Hebrew is I-chavod. I-chavod means no respect. I is the Hebrew for none.
It's a good name
Right.
to give your kid.
Okay. Kavod means respect. So who would give a kid a name no respect?
Someone whose kid has no.
Very good. But it actually wasn't Pinchas. Although he's the son of Pinchas, fascinating story. Those of you who may remember from chapter 2 that Eli had two sons. One called Chofni, one called Pinchas. And they went out to battle with the ark. And the ark was captured.
And the sons were killed.
And Chofni and Pinchas were killed in battle. And Pinchas' wife heard the news she was highly pregnant and she went into labor. And she died in pregnancy. As she was dying in pregnancy, and she heard the husband had been killed, and her father-in-law, that's her husband's father, died of shock. Well, not exactly. He fell off the chair that he was on. A 98-year-old man. He fell off. He was big and fat. He fell backwards on his head, and he died from the fall. So her father-in-law died. Her husband died. The ark was captured. The Jews had lost the battle, and many of them had been killed. Then she said, she called her son Ikavod. There was no longer any respect. It means all the things of respect, of glory, have been lost. My father-in-law, the ark, my husband, all these things are missing. So she called her child's name when he was born, and she called him Ikavod.
Just before she died.
Just before she died, right?
So
it's clear, I mentioned at the time, that she must have had other children, because later on, we're going to find out that she has a nephew. Sorry,
Well, if it says-
Son.
yes, but the other one must be an older son.
Has
But
to
if
be.
it says Achituv, brother of
she
Ichabod.
died.
So yeah, he must have been older,
Yeah.
because it couldn't be more after
She
the father
died,
died,
yeah.
exactly. She died and her husband had already died. So therefore it must be, that's why I proved it from this thing. No, because the story there was that they told her, don't worry about dying, because you have a child. So we wouldn't know, why does that help her? If she's worried about dying, she doesn't help to have a child. Someone suggested, because if she would die without children, that would be awful, because now the whole lineage would stop. I said, but you can't say that, because we know she had other children, because she's from here. So that wouldn't have been a good answer. Okay? What is the answer? I don't know. But anyway, that's the point. So he is now that was a long time ago. That story happened when Shmuel was a young kid. We don't know how young he was, right? But in the story, you imagine he was about 10, 15, something like that sort of age. He was probably a young man. And now he's over 52. So that story is like 35, 40 years earlier. Okay? So, Achia is, well, yes, okay. I didn't actually need that information. All we know is that Ikavod was born at that time. But his brother could have been many years older than him. We don't know how many years between him. You presume his brother's 5, 6 years older than him. He couldn't be 20, 30 years older.
Yeah, he could.
Right? So we don't know. Anyway, this is his brother's son. So that Ikavod was born at the beginning of Shmuel. His nephew was what? What he was the Kohen Gadol. That's the point of the story. So Achia ben Achito, the son of Achito, Achi Ikavod, who was the brother of Ikavod, ben Pinchas, the son of Pinchas, ben Eli, the son of Eli, Kohen Hashem, who was the priest of Hashem in Shiloh. Achia wasn't the priest in Shiloh because Shiloh's been destroyed in the meantime. It means Eli had been the priest, the high priest. That's what it means in Shiloh. No, say ephod, carrying the ephod, means he wore the ephod. This week's parasha, right? This week's parasha. Ephod is the apron that the Kohen wears, right? Well, in detail, it's only mentioned later on. I'll mention them in a few weeks' time, right? But all the materials which were donated for the different things in the Mishkan were mentioned in this week's parasha. So he wore the ephod. That meant he was the Kohen Gadol. And he was there. That's what it means. Okay, it's important for the story in a second why he's mentioned now. Later on, we'll find out why we need to know that he's there. At the moment, it doesn't make any difference. But the people did not know Ki halach Yonasan, that Yonasan had gone. And Yonasan didn't tell his father, and also people didn't notice that he was missing. No one noticed that he wasn't there, even though he's a very important character. In the confusion, no one noticed that he wasn't there. Ubein ha'amabarot, between the passages, la'avor is to pass. So between the passages, Asher bikesh Yonasan la'avor, that Yonasan planned or intended or desired or requested to pass al matzav Palestine to the array, the army array of Philistines. It means there were probably many different ways you could go from where he was to the Philistine camp. So between those passages, Shein Hasela. Shein means, you know the word Shein.
A tooth.
Very good, excellent. A tooth, Shinaim or teeth, Shinaim. So Shein is the singular. Hasela, Sela is?
It's a coin of value. We just had
Yes,
a
yes. Right, it actually means a rock. Sela is a rock. Okay? Selaim a rock. Yes, it's the name of a coin. I'm not sure the connection between a rock and the coin. Maybe it's the size of a rock. But a rock of any size.
Stella's a rock in.
Sela is a rock in Hebrew. Yeah. There's other words. Sur.
It's in our Gemara.
And say Even. Lots of different words you can use. Right? There are different types of rocks, different type of materials. Sedimentary rocks. You have volcanic rocks.
What does that mean, tooth rock?
It means a rock outcrop, like a hill, right? Which is vertical on most of its sides,
Yeah,
and
so
it looks a bit like a tooth.
like how the roots of a tooth are dragged
yeah.
like this. It looks like
Well, no, I would think it means like a tooth itself.
like
It
when
means
you
the
can
teeth
see-
where it's like white, often a cliff, right? The side which is
Well, it's
being broken away would be white, it's stone. It's vertical, so it's shaped like a tooth. So there was, between where the Jews were and where the Philistines were, there was a rock, like a tooth-like rock, meho'eve mizeh, on the one side, v'shein hasela meho'eve mizeh, and another one on the other side. Rabbi Lichtman told me a few weeks ago that you can still see these two rocks. You go there today, you go to Michmas, you can see these two big, talking about cliffs, talking about cliffs, not little rock. This is the cliff.
There's a place in Israel, there's a hike in Israel called Little Switzerland, and it kind of sounds like that.
Yeah, but that's somewhere else.
That's somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you could, any, you're talking about that's near Tiberia, and one near Haifa. Yeah. Anyone who wants to attract people to come to the area, of course, a little Switzerland, you've got a very good view.
It looks very
Yeah?
nice.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one rock, one cliff. Let's call it a cliff. What is a cliff on one side? There's a cliff on the other side. And the Philistines are actually on top of one cliff. That's where their army is camped. And maybe the Jews are on the other one. I'm not sure about that. There's another a tooth-like rock outcrop on the other side, which even had names. The name of one of these cliffs was called Botzetz. Shemo Echad Sene. Those words mean anything? I guess they do, but I don't know what they mean. Hasheno Echad, the one tooth, Matzuk. Now the word tzuk is a cliff. So Matzuk sounds like a verb, cliffing. Means the direction in which the cliff faced was Mitzafon, from the north, Mul Michmas, opposite Michmas. Va'echad, and the other one, Minegev, which was from the south, Mul Geva, faced Geva. Okay, let's stop there. That's the Samach. That's just a little bit of background. So what's happening so far? The Philistines have started to move, right?
Everyone left.
In their three things. The whole army's moved forward, and there's no one's got any real weapons. Yonasan and his army, suggesting his army, let's go and attack the Philistines. Let's start up with them. And between the Jews and the Philistines is this vertical cliff, with two names. And to get to the Philistines, you're going to have to climb up, which means
Climb down and climb up.
yes. I'm not sure if the Jews are on top of one, but they're certainly going to have to climb up. That's for sure.
They can't just go around.
What was Mizeh?
Well, yeah, but that'll take a long time, I guess so. But then also it won't be a surprise attack. When you do a surprise attack, you've got to climb up the cliff and suddenly come from nowhere, right? We'll
Be
see.
destroyed when they get up there.
Maybe.
What was Mizeh?
Maybe.
From this. What it means from this side.
Right.
There's one cliff from this side, one cliff from that side, and Yonasan and his armor bearer. Well, like I said, his armor bearer didn't say anything. So the next pasuk, Yonasan says the story over again to encourage his armor bearer to actually start up with his Philistines.
I thought they already left.
And-
Right?
What?
You're saying after he already got to the Plishtim to start?
Well,
it?
yeah, I didn't actually say he left. It just says, let's go.
Right.
And then we describe
Well,
what it
no,
looked
that's not
like.
true because they said that nobody knew that they were gone.
I guess so. It didn't actually say they went. I suppose, let's go over. So, yeah, well, the story starts again.
Interesting.
Yeah. So maybe at some point they got scared, or maybe it's just repeating it for the purpose that he said it to him again. But yes, it does say that nobody knew.